Good morning, everyone. Today, we're going to explore the evolution of thought and the conditions for true progress, using a unique framework. We'll be navigating a matrix that combines historical periods pre-modern, modern, and postmodern with ideological stances progressive and reactionary. This matrix will serve as our lens to critically read and understand the present. Let's dive into our analytical tool, the two faces of thought, presented as a 3x2 matrix. Across the top, we have progressive thought, and below, reactionary thought. Vertically, we categorize these thoughts within the pre-modern, modern, and postmodern periods. You'll see that progressive pre-modern thought includes traditional humanism, while reactionary pre-modern thought often leads to barbarism and feudal hierarchy. In the modern era, progressive ideals embody democracy, enlightenment, and empirical science. However, its reactionary counterpart can manifest as fascism, dichotomous thinking, and scientism. Moving to the postmodern, progressive thought strives for substantive democracy, embracing difference and harmony. Yet, its reactionary shadow can unfortunately lead to microfascism and post-truth narratives. It's crucial to understand that every paradigm of thought, at any given time, contains both progressive and reactionary aspects simultaneously. Our first stage is pre-modern thought. On one hand, we see traditional thought and humanism. Even within class societies ruled by kings and nobles, a strong tradition of valuing and respecting people was maintained. This was a progressive force of its time. On the other hand, there was pre-modern barbarism, representing a state that had not achieved modernization, characterized by feudal hierarchy and primitive backwardness. These were the two contrasting faces of this early era. Moving to stage 2, the light of modernity. This era brought about monumental shifts. We saw the establishment of republics and the widespread diffusion of democracy, embodying the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Modernity also marked the birth of the subject, the establishment of the human as an a priori and civic subject. The Enlightenment, fueled by modern reason, aimed at overcoming primitive unenlightenment and pre-modern barbarism. And finally, the empirical scientific spirit led to significant developments in analytical thinking. However, modernity also came with its intrinsic limitations and shadows. First, Platonism, which perpetuated a hierarchy leading from idea to copy to simulacrum. This often enforced centrism and identity, which could lead to hegemonic reactions. Second, dichotomous thinking. This presented concepts like liberty versus equality, or efficiency versus equity, as strict opposites. It unfortunately excluded the possibility of comprehensive thinking and harmony. And third, Scientism, a blind faith in analytical and reductionist thinking, which often disparaged philosophical inquiry as unscientific. These aspects became the pitfalls of the modern era. This brings us to the two faces of modern man, the subject and human population. As philosopher Lee Jung-woo points out, modern philosophy is a drama unfolded between these bipolar human images. On one side, we have the civic subject, who elevated human life to a new stage through reason and agency. On the other, we see the human population, often becoming the object of biopolitics and a managed crowd. This duality highlights the complex legacy of modernity. This complexity led to Phase 3, the postmodern revolt against instrumental reason. Inspired by the Frankfurt School's dialectic of enlightenment, this phase criticized the narrowness and exclusivity of instrumental reason. It championed difference and divergence, advocating for respecting diversity by moving away from identity thinking. It also called for the liberation of desire and the unconscious, seeking to restore the ambiguous and vague elements repressed by pure reason. Ultimately, it aimed for harmony and balance, with the realization of substantive democracy. But postmodernity, too, harbored a trap, often leading to a conclusion in catastrophe. The desire to overcome the negativity of modernity, through indiscriminate expression of difference, sometimes took a dangerous turn. This indiscriminate deviation can lead to extreme relativism, which then paves the way for post-truth narratives, and ultimately, paradoxically, gives birth to another form of fascism, microfascism, and new forms of reaction. So, what's our current diagnosis? We find ourselves in a crisis of truth and an age of fakes. The core problem is that in this flood of information, identifying what is true progress becomes the paramount task of our time. We see those who are reactionaries disguised as tradition, and those who are actually fascists but outwardly only shout modernity and postmodernity. The key takeaway here is that we urgently need a lens, a critical framework, to penetrate the essence of thought, not just its outward appearance or rhetoric. Let's apply this to the specificity of Korean society, which can be understood through 3 intertwined times. Korea exhibits a unique, compressed growth. It retains pre-modern hierarchical and class remnants that still exist broadly today. It experienced modern institutional modernization achieved faster than almost anyone, and it has a hyper-speed postmodern flow, driven by an ethnicity that values speed. The diagnosis is that this coexistence of 3 paradigms, without a gradual development of reasoning between them, causes extreme confusion of values within society. So, how do we forge a path forward? We propose a formula for true progress. It begins with the succession of tradition preserving the positive legacy of pre-modern humanism and democracy. To this, we add the upgrade of modernity acknowledging the incompleteness of reason and science, and actively correcting their negative aspects. Finally, we incorporate cautious postmodernity, a harmonious application that supplements the limitations of modernity. When these 3 elements are brought together, they lead to true progress. This journey represents the evolution of reason, from instrumental to universal. Instrumental reason, often characterized by scientism, dichotomous thinking, analytical, and reductionist approaches, focuses on means to an end. But true progress leads us towards universal reason. This embraces holistic comprehensiveness, integrating philosophical intuition and ethical values, built atop a foundation of scientific rationality. It's about building a bridge to a more integrated way of thinking. In conclusion, the most progressive thought does not stay anchored in any single era. Instead, it lies in the harmony and balance that weaves together the positivity of all eras: tradition, modern thought, and postmodern thought. Reason and science are essential to overcome barbarism and ignorance, but being buried solely in them can unfortunately lead to even greater catastrophe. Our challenge and our opportunity is to find that delicate balance, integrating the best of all worlds for genuine progress.